pocket snakes. It's going to show you how to make matched pairs of Spectre crackers, or ultra high molecular weight polyethylene crackers in this case. It's a super fiber. It's stronger than the aramids, and it's soft like silk, a lot like the aramids are. And this is a pair of them, and I make them in matched pairs, and these are tapered, braided, brummel locked crackers. The end loops, no matter how hard you pull, the end loops will not collide. The end loops, or the standing loops on the standing end, will not come loose. And so you start with a 3-foot piece of so this is a 390-pound braided cord, and it's got an aphilic coating. Not that anybody cares, but it helps it not fray as much. You can see it's about a cubit long. And I start off, you're going to need a pair of really good shears. So I think these are X shears. This is my favorite set of shears for cutting this material. Not many things will hold up while cutting this, or Kevlar or Vectran. This braided line, if you grab it and measure off 6 inches, so there's 6 inches long, and pierce it, and take the long tail and tuck it inside of a piece of, this is a Whipmaker cord. It's similar to 275 paracord, and this is a 3mm by 3.5 inch needle. The needle is a really cool needle. It comes from Jig Shop Pro. I love these needles. They're doing things a lot easier, but it's almost impossible to melt this plastic line and have it narrow enough to go in the 1.5mm hole on the base of this needle. So I found a faster way to do it, and I'm sharing it with you because that's what I do. I believe knowledge should be shared so that other people can do similar things. So we've got this halfway through, or we've got this through the center. You take this and you pierce into the center of this cord, and it's a bit of a trick to actually get into the center, but once you get into the center of the sheath, because it's a hollow braided material, the needle runs through it okay. It will pop out. And I put it on another fid to hold the eye open so I don't invert it. Oops. Of course, you're shooting video, so you've got to make all the mistakes. One thing about my videos is that if I'm making mistakes while I'm shooting them, I don't restart them generally. I just work around them. So you take the short tail and tuck it inside of the core, and that's a longberry splice, and it completes the brummel lock at the same time, where it's a 1.5 brummel lock probably technically. But it does the job. So you tighten it up, and you notice no matter how hard I pull on this, it will not, that loop is is in there, and there's a little tiny, it's like a blood knot or a bleed knot. So I'm going to measure another 6 inches and pierce it. And then you open up the end of the paracord-ish material and you tuck this loop inside. And you fold this through the hole. And you put it on the other fid. Hold the long end. And then you pierce into the core. And so, because we're going 6 inches, we have an 18-inch, we have a 3-foot piece. But if you come in and fold 6 inches back into the half of it, the 18 inches, you end up with 6 inches of double thickness, and then the rest. So this makes about a 12-inch long tapered cracker. It's kind of a bit long. You can always trim it up. But the neat part is, pull this through. And so now you have 2 standing loops. There's all sorts of things you can do with that. It won't go anywhere. Those won't ever come undone or undo themselves. And when you cut them in half, even with these nice shears, takes a bit. And so I like to put feathers on them, but I don't always. Like, I know some people like different feathers. You don't have to feather this material, but if you pull it off like so, put one loop through the other, and fold the body of the cracker through, you've now got a matched pair of crackers that are double thickness for 6 inches, and then there's about 6 inches of single thickness. And if you want to feather this material will tangle with itself. And so you can take your fid, which has kind of a blunted end, it's not real sharp, and you can set and pick sideways at it, but it will tangle up. But if you want to not tangle it up, you pierce it from the end, and you can open the braid up. And you don't want to jerk on it, you just want to open it up. Now this I call Dalmatian cord, because it's got these little, the pattern has little flecks of white, or little flecks of black in it. And so I call these my Dalmatian crackers. But 2 of the 12 cords are black. And so I usually use those 2 black cords to tie off a 1.5 to 2 inch feather. And this is a super tough material, but if you can kind of pluck one of the black ones out. So now this is from the joint here all the way past the tip of my thumb, and I'll fold it through and make a half hitch against the stem. So there's 1 half hitch. Pull the other cord out, and this is just taking a bundle of the black fibers. You could do the same with the white if you wanted, but I take the black ones in this cord typically and tie 2 very tiny half hitch knots against the stem, which will keep the feathers from coming apart, and it doesn't create as much of a weak spot, because the more it gets jerked, those 2 half hitches just kind of lock off, and it doesn't tend to break off as often. It also doesn't create a big knot on the end of your whip. for lighter, smaller whips, these are a great cracker. They're not super time consuming to do. I do, I make 10 packs of these crackers. And I've been looking for better and better materials over the last like 14 years of trying to innovate my way through and do things differently in whips. And it's the best material I've ever found for being easy to attach because of the loop, and also fairly simple to make. Although most people would think this was a fairly complicated cracker to make with the brummel lock. But I had a problem if I just longberry spliced it. This material is so slick. You can see how it's tangling itself up, even though I'm trying to play with it nicely. You don't really have to knot this material, but I don't like feathers that run away, so there's one. Here's the other black one. There's a feathered cracker. Now, if you wanted to have a doubled cracker, instead of going 5 inches, you could go 9 inches, a hand's breadth. I measure everything against my body because it doesn't have to be exact, but it turns out if I put my thumb against my finger and have the cord down there, that ends up being right about 6 inches. And this round braided, this is 390 pound line. They also make a 260 pound, which comes in white or black. You'll notice that with it pierced like this, it becomes a kind of a cinching slip knot. Which allows you to size the loop onto something. I use this is about 4 millimeters. It's a titanium spike. I think it's sold as a camping spike, a tent spike or something. But it's smooth and durable and you can't bend it. You can use a ballpoint pen or something would work fine for wrapping this around so you have a little bit bigger loop. But this is the same size I size the whips, English eye that I put on my whips so that it seats well. And if you don't take the time to pick the feathers apart, the process goes considerably faster because picking the feathers apart takes as much time as setting the loops. But you can do this with a piece of paracord and tuck the tail back through the same exact way and create 2 standing loops that won't move, which is a neat trick to be able to do. And like anything else, you'll get faster at doing stuff. But the neat part with this cracker is that it's got a good longevity to it. It's very light, so it's easy to get a crack out of a whip. It doesn't have any big knots if it comes back and whacks you. It's not going to leave a divot or as much of a divot, and it's lighter than aramid. This thing will float in water. It's so light, but it's super strong. And I'm not the best cameraman, so excuse the videography. And I'm just working in my chair because it's a convenient place to sit and get some natural light. It's easier to see stuff in the sunlight. But something near 300 or 400 pound line, either Vectran, which is a super fiber as well, or Technora is a coated, like usually it's coated black, but it's a coated aramid, like Kevlar is, except Kevlar's not always coated. And do another one. But I try and share the tips and tricks with people because the world needs more whip makers, more people that are interested in whips and interested in how to make things, and you feel free to steal these ideas and run with them. I call these snapdragon crackers just because it was something I started calling the system I made with the mini English eyes on my whips. I called them snapdragon. Originally I was thinking about putting little snapdragon flowers, but nobody knows what a snapdragon looks like generally, so they didn't understand, so I just put the word snapdragon and put a dragon on them. This material you can actually build a 4-3-2-1 cracker, which has 4 layers, then 3 layers, then 2 layers, then 1 layer, because it will readily accept being pulled through itself. 3 layers will fit inside. It's kind of got a nice loose lay. And you can make 4-3-2 falls, which are looped on both ends with this material, but it's a little more snaggy and it's softer, so it doesn't, and it's so light it doesn't carry energy as a falls as well as the Vectran or the aramid will do, Technora or Kevlar. You use 900 pound spear gun line and use it to make crackers for big fire whips if you want with this method. You have to gut it usually first because spear gun line usually has strings of Kevlar yarn in it to help its strength, and it's usually a woven hollow cord, but they fill the hollow with Kevlar yarn. The hard part is really keeping the needle from penetrating it. Once it starts going, and it seeks the center of the cord fairly well. Anyway, the neat part is if you make them in pairs, you make 5 pairs and you got 10 crackers to use. And if you have matched pairs of whips, it's nice to have the crackers the same length out on the end. Not that most people target things with the crackers themselves, but if you're cutting flowers or something, it's pretty optimal. So, and then I bring all these little reef knots or square knots together, twist them like so. And package them up. So if you guys want to make your own crackers, feel free. I make them for people because they're a pain to make, but here's a package of 10 crackers. Thank you. It's Chuck with Pocket Snakes signing out.